A university in Manitoba allegedly forces sexual assault victims to sign a behavioral contract that would keep them from speaking to anyone except for counselors about their assaults. This is a Brandon University based in Manitoba, and this contract was discovered by a student organization called We Believe Survivors. It was actually formed only 10 days ago, but even within that time, within the 10 days, they started a forum for students to post anonymously about experiences they had with sexual violence on campus. And that's when one of the students actually anonymously posted this contract that students are supposed to sign. So Stefan Irvine, who's one of the founding members of We Believe Survivors, was very disheartened by this. He had this to say. He says, "It was really concerning knowing that our university is more interested in keeping their name clean and pure rather than talking about things as serious as sexual violence." So part of this contract that they have to sign basically means that they're not allowed to have contact with the other person involved. They're not allowed to discuss anything about what happened, like I said, with anybody but counselors. And they're actually threatened with something as extensive as suspension or expulsion if it should get to that point. What do you think right off the bat?
Well, I mean, it's in an era and an age of trigger warnings and microaggressions where, you know, there's certain things, Woodrow Wilson, for example, being one of them, you know, the names on buildings being asked to be or sought to be removed because it may be a trigger warning for certain people, and maybe some people may find it offensive. It's just staggering to me that this is on the sort of polar opposite end of things, whereby there are gag orders on students for having reported crimes because they want to try and keep it all squeaky clean.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's to me, again, it's not surprising. We hear so many cases of you know, universities wanting to just mum's the word when it comes to these kinds of things because they don't want their credibility to be tarnished in this regard. I just haven't, in my experience of reading these cases, seen something that's that blatant, that's just like, no, you agree to not actually say anything. So Dr. Corinne Mason, who's the coordinator for gender studies and women's studies at Brandon University, she referred to it as a gag order, which is exactly what it is. She says, "This gag order is not surprising given the culture of silencing victims on all Canadian university campuses. This gag order treats survivors and perpetrators as equals in the incident, and it treats the person who reports sexual assault in a disciplinary manner," which is exactly right. When you refer to it as a behavioral contract, it creates some idea that the victim is to blame, and it's a problem.
One wonders what, you know, the purpose in this is obviously to keep it squeaky clean, but to try and give the appearance that the college doesn't have any problems with sexual assault, obviously to make it seem squeaky clean. But one wonders whether this also has an impact on actually pursuing the offence, and one wonders whether the extent to which that would be hampered because you can't really talk about it openly. And also in terms of actually being able to catch the individual, because if there is certainly, let's say, a certain person who is conducting activity, you know, sexual assault, who has conducted this on an extensive level, if the victims can't talk and if there's no open forum for discussion, it would mean actually catching perpetrators that much harder.
That's exactly right. I mean, even this case, one of the specific students that it refers to, she said that she didn't know if the student had actually been disciplined, the man who assaulted her, but she did see him on campus or in the halls from time to time. So it really just, it halts any kind of prosecution, any real justice being served. Now, according to spokespeople for Brandon University, for example, Tom Brophy, who's an associate vice president of student services, he says that the behavioral contract is actually for the service of students. He says certainly behavioral contracts are meant to protect. They're not meant to victimize or re-victimize. So behavioral contracts are there to protect students. That's what we endeavor to do. I find it interesting he doesn't give any specifics as to how it protects. You're like, perhaps the perpetrator, not necessarily the victim, who's just like, okay, I guess I just talk about this with my counselor, and that's it.
Well, it protects the university is what it does.
Precisely.
It doesn't necessarily protect.
That's what they mean.
It doesn't. Yeah, right. It doesn't actually protect either the victim, or one would hope that it doesn't protect the perpetrator. But it's not, as I said, as we've discussed, it may well hamper full investigation. It's not clear. It's just staggering, and one wonders what's going to happen next. There's 3,700 students or so at Brandon University, so it's a sizable population.
Yeah, it's small enough, but I mean, well, and that's the thing, and I'm sorry to interrupt you. It's just, to me, again, we see so many more cases of either reports or assaults being reported and then being brushed under the rug, or they remain unreported. I mean, CNN released a study not too long ago saying that about 23% of women experience some kind of sexual violence on campus. So, I mean, in this Brophy guy, he says that only in the 2 years that he's been working at Brandon University, only 3 of these contracts have been issued, and suspension and expulsion is the last resort. But again, only 3 contracts have been issued. Only 1 assault has been reported to administration this school year, which just statistically speaking does not seem correct. It seems like another opportunity to just say, no, we don't have a campus rape issue. It's just, it's crazy. So, I mean, thank goodness for We Believe Survivors for bringing this to the forefront, but I do not think that mum's the word is the best way to go.